everybody, and welcome to Talking About Sports here on ADSN. I'm Alan Dietz in this week for Kevin Casey. Of course, as we are all the time, we're at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill here in Uptown Charlotte, North Carolina. Joined as always by John Tobias, Mike Freer, and Reggie Walker. And guys, we got a little bit of breaking news as we come on today. Brian Colangelo, the president of the Philadelphia 76ers, has resigned, and I was not following this story a whole lot. So whenever I saw Twitter, I said, well, with the way the world is right now, maybe he said something or posted something that was inappropriate. But instead, it was inappropriate, but it all's got to do with fake Twitter accounts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which allow him to criticize, burner accounts, as they say, which allow him to criticize the organization and the players. This is a guy who's a two-time executive at a year in the NBA. This is a big deal, John.
Very much so. And the thing about it is, of course, he's the son of Jerry Colangelo. And the thing about it is, love to get your guys' input on this as well. I look at it like this. In terms of Brian Colangelo, so a law firm, Philadelphia law firm, was hired, and the fact finding is that those were not technically his burner accounts, that it was traced back to his wife.
Yeah.
So someone could say, well, you know what, it wasn't him. But here's the crux of the matter. She tweeted out very private information in terms of injury, in terms of like with Jahlil Okafor, other things. So where else could she have gotten that from? So I think that was the thing, the smoking gun, like old school people would say, that really like did him in.
It's so dumb. Such a dumb thing to get in trouble with. It's just to do. I mean, why? It absolutely makes no sense. You built something really special in Philly after all these years.
Yeah.
You put all that work in. You took all the criticism. You took all the ridicule. And now here you go. You're the team on the rise. You have LeBron James mentioned in connection with you someday in the offseason, perhaps. And now it's over because you did something like this. It's really, and they had to get rid of it. Like you say, once they did the investigation, they found out what happened. It had to go away.
Look, man, as I sit up here on this panel, as the one guy sitting here at this table that does not have a wedding band on his finger, shout out to all the wives. This is a perfect example of when pillow talk goes wrong. Because at the end of the day, and we all know how it goes, you in the evenings, you get into bed, and there's a conversation about something between yourself and your spouse, generally speaking. But if the burner accounts were hers and she was the one dropping the knowledge, why are you at home talking about medical information of your players? You may be able to, and I could see if, it's, Joel Embiid's acting like a baby, he pissed me off today or whatever, but why are you talking about guys' medical information at home? That's something. So to me, it's just when pillow talk went wrong.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's any way that these were not his thoughts.
Oh, I agree they were.
Yeah, right. And that he may have even posted them. I mean,
and she's just taking the
exactly.
But
I buy that.
My thing is I'm like, why? It's just like you said, Mike. I mean, it's dumb. I mean, is it just a matter of trying to find an avenue to vent? Or, I mean, I can't think of a logical reason to do this.
It's not giving you a competitive edge. It's not. I honestly, I guess I don't think it far enough in advance or far enough through what the benefits of doing this are, because I can't see any. And after all the work you put in to get this franchise where it is, this stupid thing has you walking out the door.
Yeah, none of it made sense. And here's the other thing. When you're in a position like that, the profile is entirely too high. You got to know. Listen, I got Twitter followers. Shout out to anybody that follows me as well. But there are certain things that, I mean, how many times have all of us sitting here written a tweet and then been like, nah, let me erase that and say it a little bit of a different way?
Yeah.
We are not the president of the Philadelphia 76ers, not to diminish anything that any of us at this table have done. But when you are in that public of a position, that high of a profile, you've got to be even smarter about your stream of consciousness being allowed to be seen by the public.
Which is why this is such a shock. This is not some kid that just happened to stumble into his first job.
Right.
I mean, like we said, this is a 2-time executive of the year. I mean, he's been around the bend. He knows the rules.
Yeah.
Right. And, Alan, it's a precipitous drop because, guys, if you think about it, whenever you talk about, teams on the rise in the NBA, there are really two teams that you think about that in terms of, like, teams on the rise. The Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
So I guess now the next question is, who can take his place right now? I believe that Brett Brown is in on an interim basis.
He's in.
But an interim.
He's in as an interim.
But in terms of who will go ahead and take the reins, I guess that remains to be seen.
And it could not, guys, come at a worse time because you got the NBA draft around the corner here. And more than likely, this position is not going to be filled. The coach is going to be the one going into the draft.
Making decisions.
They have a lottery pick, too, I believe.
Not to mention, with all that being said, free agency's coming. And so not only do you have the stain of what's happened there, but also who's running the show in free agency for a team that we know has cap space and that is looking to add to the young pieces that they have. How do you what becomes the direction of this franchise if the leader isn't figured out right now?
Yeah, well,
that's also why he had to go. I agree.
Yeah, it's why he had to go, and it's why you try to diffuse the situation. And, Brett Brown hopefully can sell the case for the Sixers when free agency comes around. But, what a mess of a franchise that just seemed to be, like you said, JT, one of the two big teams on the rise.
I think we're going to talk a little bit of NBA Finals now, guys. Of course, we had Game 3 last night, and knowing I was going to be on the show today, of course, I watched it a little bit closer than normal. But Kevin Durant couldn't miss anything. No. Steph Curry couldn't hit the side of a barn, but he did score some important points right at the end of that game. And again, LeBron had a strong, steady game. I think he scored. How many points did he score?
33. Yeah, another triple-double, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
33, 10, and 11.
But there's no way Cleveland's going to come back at this. I mean, that was a series killer last night. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. The thing about it is that, no team has ever come back from 0-3, and I guess Cleveland fans, guys, could say, well, no team ever came back from 3-1 2 years ago, and we came back and won. But here's the big thing. 2 years ago, Cleveland had Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Golden State did not have Kevin Durant. You guys know the moniker for Golden State? I think that the main thing is...
Strength in numbers.
Say that again, Reg.
Strength in numbers.
The thing about it is...
make a point about that, too.
Yep, Cleveland has one elite player, and he is like the elite of the elite. Golden State, they have several.
I mean, look at even on a night when LeBron even got some help from a Rodney Hood, from J.R. Smith actually showed up and shot the ball, sort of Kevin Love, who's actually been playing a lot better as the playoffs are going on. There's just not enough talent to overcome a team that has legitimately 4 future Hall of Famers on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Kevin Durant just really carried him on a night when, like you said, Steph just had one of the worst nights you could have.
Yeah. Here's the thing that makes this thing, and we talk about series and games and the finals. Here's to me the bottom line of this particular series. When you watch Golden State, I can name at least off the top of my head 7 guys on that roster that I feel comfortable with on both ends of the floor.
Right.
7, maybe 8 if some people trust Swaggy P on defense. I don't personally, but I'm just saying. Whereas on the flip side of that, when you look at Cleveland, besides LeBron James, name me one guy that you can trust on both ends of the floor consistently.
I don't know that you can trust LeBron, though. Whenever I watch him on the defensive side of the ball, he's just another guy out there. Kevin Durant, to me, he took over that game last night on both ends of the floor. And when I see LeBron out there on defense, and that's always the knock about LeBron is, he's not as strong on defense maybe when you start putting him in the category of Michael Jordan and Julius Erving and some of the greats like that. I watched that game last night, and whenever they would get down there on the defensive end of the floor, I didn't even know if LeBron was on the floor or not.
Yeah, one of the knocks on him has been that he doesn't often guard the best player on the other team throughout the game. He does it at times.
Neither does Steph
Curry.
But
he doesn't do it throughout the game. But here's the difference with Steph. as much as people malign Steph's defense, when you put him on the floor with that Hampton 5 group, you've got Iguodala, who was known when he came in the league for defense. You've got Draymond Green, who's been a Defensive Player of the Year. You've got Klay Thompson, who is the guy that they asked to take the head of the snake on defense from a perimeter standpoint. They've been doing that with him in Golden State forever. And then Kevin Durant is a pretty good defender as well. So Steph, not a bad defender. He's just the worst of those 5.
But it's been like that, though.
And it's been like that.
Even a couple of years ago, before KD got there, Kyrie, he was going at Steph. And,
right.
And
but that was the thing, because Klay, that's the thing. When you put those 5 on the floor, the guy you can attack is Steph. You can, because you're not going to attack Klay.
They all set up the switches that way.
Right, and they set up the switches that way to attack Steph. And so it's interesting to watch how this works, because I don't think he's a bad defender. I think he's a willing defender. He's an able defender. He's slight in stature, so all they do is back him down, which makes sense. But when you really look at and here's another point I wanted to make, because in talking about Golden State, I've been saying throughout the playoffs, they've got to play JaVale McGee more. Listen to this in the finals. He's 13 of 16 from the field. He's played a total of 39 minutes. He's got 4 block shots and 6 other altered shots. So you're talking about 3+ altered shots per game, and he's shooting a high percentage.
He's been very disruptive.
That's a piece of energy that they've got to have, particularly at the front of the rim.
Getting back to what you said about LeBron and his defense, I don't disagree with that. I do think there is a little bit of a caveat in that LeBron is asked to do so much on that team on offense. To put him on Kevin Durant for an entire game,
he can't do that for 48 minutes.
And who's he going to defend? Just like you were saying, the knock on him is that he doesn't defend the best player on the team. Well, on any given night, who's going to be the best player on Golden State? It could be 5 different guys.
Right, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, guys, if somebody would have told you that the Splash Brothers yesterday would have finished 7 for 27, 21 total points, Klay Thompson had 10 points, and, oh, by the way, your boy, JaVale McGee, had as many points, 10, as Klay Thompson. If somebody would have told you guys that before the final score, you would be like, okay, that's a W for Cleveland. It's deflating, man.
I'm going to tell you what I would have said if you told me that. I would have said they're probably going to end up with 90 points. The fact that they went over 100 and those guys were that bad is the answer to the riddle. Because, again, Cleveland doesn't have enough guys that can put the ball in the basket consistently.
Cleveland, 3 of 17 from 3 in the second half. I mean, how are you going to win?
Yeah, you got to attack the basket, man. Here's the thing. And that's another thing that I think JaVale McGee does is, even though he's not playing heavy minutes, early in the games when he's changing shots, he becomes a deterrent, and that becomes one of those things that they say, I'm not even going to try that because somebody's in there waiting for me.
Well, we got a lot to talk about as far as the NBA Finals go. Panthers, a little bit of NASCAR. We got a lot covered for you here today on Talking About Sports. We'll be right back after this break on ADSN. Welcome back to ADSN and Talking About Sports here from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill in Charlotte, North Carolina, and continuing our conversation on the NBA Finals. We talked about the strength of the Golden State Warriors and how even when Steph could have a bad night like he had last night, they could score over 100 points. If LeBron has that game last night, Cleveland loses by 20 or 30 points.
Agreed. Exactly. And the thing about it is, guys, let's not forget about another person that's been really good for Golden State, Sean Livingston. Do you know that last night was the first field goal that he had missed in the entire series?
That's what he does.
The entire series.
See, it goes, and we've talked about this, right, is players knowing who they are and what they are. There was a play last night, and a lot of people, I was watching it somewhere, and a lot of people were there, and the play where Sean Livingston got the rebound and he was on a 1-on-3 break and he pulled up and knocked down a jumper from about 8 feet, and everybody goes, what's he doing shooting? I go, that's his shot. Between 8 and 14 feet, that's Sean Livingston's world.
Game.
That's his world. And so he understands who he is. If you watch him play, it's either attacking the rim to get a layup or it's a 12-foot jump shot from near the elbow of either side of the paint, or he's posting a guy up because he's so long at 6'7". That's what he does. It's effective. I love his game.
I loved him when he was here in Charlotte for that one season. He did a great job, and I was really disappointed that he left. Obviously, he left for greener pastures. But, he's a solid player, and it's just like you mentioned, Al, it's just so tough to beat a team with 4 really legitimate superstars. And anybody can score at any time. Last night was Durant. Game 4 Friday will probably be Klay Thompson or whatever. I mean, it's really hard. And when you're not a really good defensive team like the Cavs are not.
Not only are they not a really good defensive team, to your point, but I would also argue that, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. If he's not jacking up a wild 3, J.R. Smith is worthless on offense. Tristan Thompson, unless it's an offensive rebound, he's worthless on offense. You go to the other end of the floor, Kevin Love is a slightly above average defender, maybe.
And didn't play very good.
Right. And George Hill is a ball-dominant pick-and-roll type of point guard when he's at his best. To ask him to just stand in the corner and wait for LeBron to make a play for him, it's not what he does well. So you start looking at this thing and you go, yeah, LeBron's got to do all those things, but all those things also diminish the capacity of those other guys on the floor.
But there was a couple times last night I watched, and it's it's like you said about knowing yourself and knowing your game.
Yeah.
There was a couple times, and the game for the most part stayed within 2 or 3 points the whole second half. And LeBron took a couple of threes, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Fatigue.
Because I mean, he could have drove, and he could have got a pretty easy score, so it wasn't like they were way behind, and he had to try and make up ground shooting threes.
Yeah, there was a 3 in particular he hit. I think they were down 4. And it was off an offensive rebound, and he shot a 3 and hit it. And I thought to myself, even at the time, you didn't need that shot. They had just missed the 3 on the same possession, essentially. And I'm going, why are they chasing the three-point line? Yeah. They're down 4 with whatever it was. It was probably more than 4 minutes left. And then they were down 6 with less than a minute to go in the game, and they didn't foul. So I was kind of confused as to what the mindset of those guys
The problem is for the Cavs, their mindset the whole year has been to hoist up the 3 throughout the game. It doesn't matter if they're a good shooting team from 3. It doesn't matter if JR has a 3 for 10 night from 3, and that's a good night.
Yeah.
That's just what they do, and it burns them in the end. If they're not shooting the 3 really well, it just burns them. And last night, like I said, second half, 3 of 17 from 3. The Warriors, meanwhile, 5 of 12 from 3-point range in the second half. Most of that, right. Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and to touch on what you said, to add on what you said, Al, I think that may be the problem. I think that if LeBron has a so-called bad game, Cleveland has no shot. No, by the way, his bad game is a triple-double.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Yeah, to put in perspective, I mean, game 1, KD did not have a good game. LeBron scored 51 on him. Game 3 yesterday, Steph and Klay didn't have a good game. They still won. So they cannot have a good game, and someone will still step up.
Let me tell you when I knew Cleveland was in trouble. And this is going to sound weird at first.
When Jared got the rebound in game 1?
So
the tip-off.
LeBron, early in the game, throws an alley-oop to himself off the glass. Ridiculous play. Great play. You look up at the board with, I think the timeout was called with 10:01, or stoppage of play with 10:01 left in the first quarter. Cleveland had 10 points. And I said to a friend of mine watching the game, I said, if Cleveland doesn't have 30 points at the end of this quarter, Golden State is doing backflips. And I think they finished the first quarter with 26 points, I believe.
I think it was 29-28 after 1.
28, yeah. Whatever. So that speaks to my point.
Yeah.
You can get 10 points in 2 minutes, and then for the next 10 minutes, you can't even get 25.
Well, backtracking just a little bit, how did Cleveland get to this point? I mean, is the East just that bad?
I don't think the East was that bad. I think they caught a break with facing a Celtics team that didn't have Kyrie, didn't have Gordon Hayward, and still took them to the 7th game.
I'm going to take one of those away from you. I'm not going to let you use the Gordon Hayward argument because he's been gone the whole regular season.
That's true. I'll give you that.
But the Kyrie part, I'm with you on that.
No, I'll give you that. But, I mean, they got pushed to a 7th game in Boston, and LeBron had a LeBron game. And the 7th game, the young guys from the Celtics couldn't really handle the moment. But the East is clearly not on the same level as the West. And somebody had to come out of there, and the best player in the land plays in Cleveland, so that's how they've been riding him the whole playoffs.
Yeah, they had some luck, but though, to be honest, I think Golden State had some luck too. I mean, they were down 3-2. One of the best point guards in the league goes down with a hamstring injury, doesn't play in Game 6, does not play in Game 7 at home. I'm not into the what ifs, but what if? If he would have played,
Well, we can do what ifs all. Yeah,
I mean, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk.
Let's look into the crystal ball just a little bit, because I don't want to say that this series is done, but I'm about 75% sure this series is done.
The fat lady hasn't sung, but she in the hallway.
She's eating.
It's over.
So where is LeBron at next year?
Cleveland.
Why?
I think he's in Cleveland.
Why?
Why would he go anywhere else?
Yeah.
No other situation makes sense.
What gives him the best chance to win?
Okay. Let's play devil's advocate.
They just went to the finals as a 4 seed this year.
Why not Houston?
You don't know if Chris Paul's going to be there.
And Chris Paul wants max money.
And then let's say Chris Paul is there. Now you're in a worse situation. You got 3 stars, but again, you're asking 3 ball-dominant players to try to figure out how to play iso ball. Because here's the thing. Okay, let's say Chris Paul has the ball. You going to ask LeBron James to stand in the corner and wait for 3?
Yeah, but we thought the same thing about when we found out that Chris Paul was going to get traded.
But that's
Houston.
only 2.
Yeah, but you're
talking about 3.
You're talking about 3, but
he didn't want to join D'Antoni's offense in 2010.
Right, but don't you have 2 better players in Houston more so than Cleveland?
Yeah, and the other piece of that is what you have to do to that bench is going to get much worse.
Meaning?
Because you can't keep – what do you do with a guy like Trevor Ariza? You're going to have to move him.
Clint Capella needs to be re-signed.
Clint Capella has to be – that's what I'm saying. So you got to pay him.
Chris Paul wants max money.
Eric Gordon, you're going to have to pay Eric Gordon.
LeBron ends up in 2 places, Cleveland or the Lakers. And
I don't get the Lakers.
Here's why. But you and I have talked about this Laker thing. Go ahead and spit it out. I like this concept.
Here's the thing. We talked about a little before the show. If he goes to the Lakers, which is a rumor, obviously a strong rumor, he clearly is no longer interested in championships, because that's not a championship caliber team.
No, that's what I almost wonder is, and that's why I think the argument for Cleveland could be there, is he at the point right now where he gets off on the fact that it's all about him. He's scoring 40 points, and I need that more than I need that title. I've got the title.
I think he's after championships. I
agree.
Right now, I think he is. What we were talking about is if he goes to the Lakers, it's no longer about the championships. No. It's about the money and the fame, and in my opinion, that's fine, because he's more than earned the right to do that after all the effort he's put in to try and make Cleveland a champion and all the lack of support he's had. But it will tarnish his image or reputation.
I'm going to make another point about that. I'm going to say this. I'll go this far. If LeBron James leaves Cleveland, follow me here. I'm done with him. Because that'll be the 3rd time. The first time he left Cleveland, he brought in all those guys, Jameson at the end of his career, all these different guys, and then decided, I can't win with these guys. You're the one that wanted him there. He went to Miami, put that group together, realized, decided he couldn't win a championship with those guys, ran away again. He's the one that got Tristan Thompson paid. He's the one that made them do the trade for Kevin Love. He put this team together. So if he leaves again, the one thing we can be sure of, as great a player as he is, we know he's a terrible GM because he's done it 3 times and ran out the door.
Well, I agree with you there, that's for sure.
I think you're being a little too hard on him.
Yeah. Great conversation, guys, about the NBA Finals, but we're going to talk a little NFL when we come back. The Panthers, they've been active on the field and off. We'll get you up to speed with the team, as well as Christian McCaffrey, who's seen his stock rise with the fans here in the Carolinas.
Get your song on there, bro.
Yeah, they've been playing it a couple of times. The DJ's constantly doing, I got to get your groove on. So it's
you're going to get paid.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm pulling for you. Go kick some.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all.
That's not part of it. If somebody broke it down to him like that, he might think about it.
Welcome back to ADSN, and Taylor, I would stick to your day job. I like your dance moves. You know, Kevin, our producer, he knows a little bit about bumping and grinding. I like that, but I think she needs to hold back on the singing. I think we need to leave that to Montel. Not Montel Williams either, Montel Jordan.
All right. This is
All
how we
right,
do it.
Panther OTAs this week, guys.
Oh, yeah.
What are we thinking so far?
I've always been, when it comes to OTAs, I mean, the only key to it is, I guess, if everybody shows up. But, I mean, OTAs to me, it's really about install and just kind of being able to start playing a little more instinctively when you get the pads on. but I don't think there's much you can learn about a player. I'll put it this way. OTAs is going to help you decipher the difference between a couple of guys at the same position, some rookies or that types of thing. But at the end of the day, you don't know what a guy is until you put those pads on him and put him in some live fire type situation.
But isn't it important this year in particular with North Turner coming in?
I agree.
Learn how things work.
The new system, getting acclimated to voices, that absolutely is an important part of it.
And this is a big year for the Panthers. I mean, 2018 is a big year. I know Cam isn't getting that old, but the wear and tear on his body.
29 now? 28, 29?
You can get old real quick in this league, and the window can close real quick.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'd say this is a big year for the Panthers.
Right.
So
I guess my question is, sometimes after training camp, you have like the first, round of cuts, before you go ahead and get to your final man roster. If you guys see some prominent, veterans available, what need do you think that the Panthers need now more so after the draft than before the draft?
I still don't think they solved the problem at safety. Personally, I would have went and got Eric Reed. That's just me.
Not too late.
And I think they've got to figure out what this offensive line is going to look like because, to your point, you can get old real quick in this league. I saw Cam Newton last weekend at his kickball tournament. Looked to be in great shape. By the way, if people haven't seen Cam, and I've seen him before, but that's a large man. He really is a large guy. But, they got to make sure they can protect him and create running lanes for the running backs and whoever is going to be a part of that running game. And they got to make sure they don't give up big plays on the back end on defense. We know what they can do up front. They're always going to be able to get after the passer. Luke Kuechly in the middle of that defense is going to get everybody lined up. But Luke can't cover a guy 40, 50 yards down the field. That's where they got to make sure they're shored up on the back end of that defense.
Yeah, I agree with Reggie I think the offensive line is their biggest question mark, or biggest area they have to really secure coming into this season because you just don't want to see Cam take another season like the last two.
Sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you there. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Going back to the secondary a little bit, Eric Washington is going to take over for Steve Wilkes. Does that give Captain Munnerlyn a second chance, or do we still see him in a reduced role?
I think we'll see Captain a little bit more. They'll probably play a little bit more situational. If you actually watch what they were doing on film last year, even when they were blitzing, they were just sitting in a zone behind it. They didn't do anything overly intricate in terms of coverages and those types of things because they weren't comfortable with the entire group back there. I think a guy like Captain Munnerlyn, his leadership, his veteran knowledge of the game will help them probably be able to do some more things. And I think early in the year, I think you're going to see a coordinator in Washington. It's going to be much like McDermott was that first year, that first half of the first year. They were very conservative on defense until they really figured out who they had and what those pieces were able to do consistently. I think you're going to see the same thing from Washington's group this year. And then as the year evolves, you may see them try to create some more confusing type of looks, especially on the back end.
Christian McCaffrey, guys, he got a lot of snaps last year for a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
What does he need to improve on, and what's his role with the team this year, you think?
Me personally, I would say durability. We'd love to get you all's input on this. And the reason why is because I think a lot of times people get enamored with Christian McCaffrey because he's a very speedy running back. He's very versatile. But Mike and Rich, he does not define as the carry the mail guy. Because the thing about it is, he only had over 400 yards in terms of rushing. Jonathan Stewart, he had the lion's share in terms of carries. So the thing about it, he had over 600 yards in terms of receiving. So he did very well with that. So I would think that he would have to produce more so as a rusher in terms of carrying the mail.
I think bit more. They went out to get the bruising back that Stewart used to be, C.J. Anderson, Kenyon Barner. Another guy that they're going to throw in there. They're going to throw a lot of options at you, which will allow McCaffrey to not only maybe get a few more carries, but his best asset is he's really tough to guard out of the backfield, cover out of the backfield when it comes to catching passes.
I think the most important thing for Christian McCaffrey this offseason going into next year, he's got to improve as a pass protector.
Yeah,
he's got to be, and here's why.
But doesn't he have to get bigger?
Not necessarily. If you do it right and understand what it is you're supposed to be doing, you can be okay if you're willing to stick your chest in there and hit somebody. But the main reason why I say that is because right now, if he's on the field, you can pretty much assume they're going to throw the football probably to him.
As of last year.
As of last year.
Jonathan Stewart.
Correct. But now, if you put him in there and he's a better pass protector, it doesn't matter if he's on the field or C.J. Anderson's on the field. They could call anything in the playbook if they can trust him pass protecting to help Cam as well. But last year, they couldn't necessarily do that consistently. Again, he was a rookie, so some of the pass protection schemes can be intricate. But that's one of the things that if he's improved that, now they're less predictable in terms of when he's on the field, what they're going to do and what they're going to call.
Don't you think this is kind of, speaking of McCaffrey, don't you think this is kind of, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in with Norv's offense. This isn't a Norv type of running back. He likes the traditional, carry the ball, give the guy the ball here, use the tight end, like he had to Novacek all those years in Dallas.
Yeah, but at the same time, here's where I'm
not saying it can't be used in any way. Just
remember, just don't forget about when he was in San Diego, Norv, when he had Phillip Rivers, obviously Antonio Gates, of course, but they also had Darren Sproles with Tomlinson. So they were able to, or no, maybe Tomlinson was already gone, but they had Sproles in a role that we saw what Norv Turner could do with that type of player. Right. Don't be surprised if you see Christian McCaffrey doing some of the same types of things.
And I think if you see Christian McCaffrey run more, the question is going to be, is he more like a D'Angelo Williams who would still kind of hit the hole pretty quick, or can he develop into a player like Le'Veon Bell, same sort of build and everything, and right now he is not there. But I mean, do you ever see where he gets to a point to where he can stand back and kind of let the line do its thing and then hit?
Yeah, he's got that kind of patience in him. And let me make another point, because I think folks often talk about size and how big he is. And I know Stu was a heavy guy, and I worked Jonathan Stewart's camp last summer. This year was Christian McCaffrey this past weekend. So I've stood next to both of those guys in street clothes. Christian McCaffrey is not that much smaller in stature than Stu is. So when people say he's undersized, don't just look at the number on the scale and assume that a guy doesn't have mass to him. Christian McCaffrey is a solidly built young man that can move pretty quickly, especially in what we call a phone booth in those tight spaces.
John, what do you think whenever I mentioned Le'Veon Bell, you were like, no way?
Because I thought that you meant from a durability standpoint. No. Le'Veon Bell has carried the ball over 400 times. Yeah. So from a durability standpoint, no. But from a versatility standpoint, absolutely, in terms of catching. Well, no different than what he did last year. I think that he can definitely take it to the next level. I just think even though you do have a running back by committee this year, I still think they expect to carry McCaffrey to carry the ball a little bit more than what he did last year.
I would also argue if they had a better offensive line last year, or more consistent offensive line last year, the running game as a whole would have probably been better. So those numbers would have looked a little bit better.
Well, Christian, during the offseason, he also helped save a man who fell off of a cliff life a year ago. That man, Dan Smoker Sr., he's reported to be attending a Panthers game this season where he'll be reunited with McCaffrey. McCaffrey really seems to be becoming the golden child for the Panthers, and now he's done his first mini camp.
Carolina Panthers stars Christian McCaffrey and Luke Kuechly are here at Ardrey-Kell High School putting on a youth football camp. Over 300 first through 8th graders are here to learn football skills and drills and to have some fun with two of their role models.
Time to get better. Who wants to get better? Eagles, our high school division, or excuse me, college division.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Down! Stop it up, good job, get back down. Line it up and help. I want to introduce your host, and the reason we're here Let's give it up for Christian McCaffrey. Championship Sunday, great day to play some football. But guys, today I want to see the same energy, the same effort as yesterday. Go out there, have fun, play together, play with your teammates, and let's have a blast, man. All right, I want an energy level up. So if you're with me, give one hoo hoo. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right, here you go.
You know, it's about teaching them the fundamentals of the game, helping them, you know, kind of just understand why things work, what drills make them better, just understanding so they can eventually learn how to play instinctive football. To have these guys come out here, and they've both been out here, you know, actually getting their hands dirty and showing the kids the drill specifically, so that really helps. And then, you know, the other coaches here, not to diminish anything that Luke and Christian have done or are doing, but there's a lot of coaches out here with a lot of experience, been at high levels, played at high levels. So there's a lot of football knowledge out here, a lot of football IQ being poured into these kids.
Hey, I got the ways to go. I got moves to make, homie, but I stay in the flow. So I just do what I say I'ma do. No, my movement ain't fading. You can assume I'm just doing what's great. I'm the truth.
It's my first kind of camp I've done. You know, I used to help out at my dad's camps, and I would do his camps all along. So it's really bringing me back to my childhood, and I'm having a blast. Got great weather. These kids are excited out to be here, so it's been a lot of fun.
Today, I think our guys take a lot of pride in not only playing well on the field, but making an impact off the field as well. So it's a good deal.
You can't put a price on it, really. It's something special to them, I'm sure, and then to the boys, it means everything.
Luke, told us how to knock the ball out and stuff.
Guys,
you have to keep the ball basically in your hand, and you don't let them get it out.
You got a buddy that's got him wrapped up. You come through on that bottom side, and that ball pops right out. So that's tip number one when you got it real secured like Christian.
There you go! Get the score! Get the score! Get the score! Good job, baby! Re-step. Turn, hop, jump up. There we go. Back it up. Let's go again. Put up right. Get there, get there. Ball your feet.
Oh. I just hope they have fun. You know, it's a beautiful day. They got their parents out in the stands. You know, they make a play. You cheer for them. You have their teammates celebrate. They got music going. So I think making football fun at a young age is extremely important. I know Fortnite's a huge topic, so a lot of these kids, I've been giving some Fortnite references to them, and they listen like that. You know, they'll do it right away. So, but they've asked me a lot of Fortnite questions, that's for sure.
Huge impact. That's one of the reasons why I really thought I would start playing football. When the Houston Oilers would come to our school and elementary school and they'd hang out with us and spend time with us, that kind of gave me that thought of, hey, maybe I could. And I think the same thing for these young men as well.
All right, Bucket. There's some girls out here.
There's a couple of girls, I'm telling you.
Beating the boys.
Yeah, I mean, dusting them.
They're such great role models to our kids, so it's just such a neat experience to be side by side and to catch a ball or have a moment to high five.
1, 2, 3, hustle! Defense! Back pedal. We're here.
My favorite thing was to see the ones that started off quiet on day one. Then how about day two, how them guys opened up. Like one kid wouldn't talk, now he's telling guys what to do. I think that's the best part of it all, when they guys finally open up and be themselves.
It's a handoff, he's running out the right side. He's going after the ball. He picks it, touchdown, give it up for him. Pop that ball. Did he make it? No! I think he's out. Let's give it up for Big Bobby Jones. They call him the Jawbreaker. Here we go. We're huddling up. Plays made. Your one chance to go by an all-pro. Can he do it? Here we go, slow clap. It's a handoff. Going up the right side. He's going right at him. He's going to pop that ball out. No, he's good. 6 in the book.
And he's had a blast. It's not every day you get to flatten the number 59, who's his favourite player anyway, right? So he scored a touchdown on him, and not many NFL players get to do that, so he had a good time. They're such a great community team. I mean, you feel like you're part of the community. They feel like they're part of the community with you. So whether you bump into Thomas Davis in the mall, which we did one time, or you do something like this, the amount of time they give to the kids, it's fantastic. And that's what makes him fall in love with the game even more.
It's been a great experience for him, for the family, the whole family. They big Panthers fans, so it was really great to have the Panthers. Growing up, I didn't have the Panthers, so it's great for my son to have the Panthers to come to this camp. Recommend it, highly recommend the camp.
And we out of control. I'm winning. Straight line! What a straight line!
I want you guys to take what you've learned here, the competition aspect, the getting better aspect, the always learning something aspect, and take it with you in the other parts of life. You know, whatever you go on to do, try to be the best at it. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you succeeded, all right? So thank you guys for having me. Parents, once again, can't thank you guys enough. Luke, thanks for stopping by, man. Really appreciate it. This guy's the best, so thank you guys again, and I had a blast. I hope you did too.
It was a successful weekend, and both Christian and Luke told me that opportunities like this to give back to the Charlotte community really fueled them leading into season. For all of us here at ADSN, I'm Taylor Davis.
Just a great young man is Christian McCaffrey, becoming a big part of the Charlotte and Carolinas community. As Kevin Tolbert, our producer, do any of you know Kevin Tolbert?
Do y'all know Kevin Tolbert?
Wow, they're not too excited.
Kev, they don't seem proud of that, Kev.
Yeah. Thank you, fan.
How about Christian McCaffrey? Well, anyway, Kevin's whole family, I think it's a family reunion here today. Before we go to break, I do want to kind of change subjects a little bit. Christian McCaffrey, a fan favorite. A guy who's not necessarily a fan favorite, Ridge.
That's fair.
Terrell Owens making news again.
Yeah, and here's the thing that strikes me about this whole thing. So for those that don't know, T.O. has announced that he will not attend the Hall of Fame ceremonies in Canton this year when he's to be inducted. He's choosing to spend it with his family somewhere else. Here's my thing.
In Canton, probably.
He's a guy that we saw tears shed, all those things when it was announced that he was elected to the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. If it means that much to you, I don't understand why you're deciding to not go. Mm-hmm. Regardless of whatever your reasoning is, unless there was a prior engagement, which again, you are a former football player and you're being inducted, you're receiving the highest honor of that sport.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What other place do you need to be? And so to me, and again, I don't know what's going on in his personal life. I have no idea. But it just seems to me kind of odd that he's choosing to not show up to something that he always talked about meant so much to him.
I will say Terrell, without knowing, like you say, without knowing the whole story, because it just came down today, Terrell Owens throughout his career was always about one person, Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. That's how he always acted. So news like this is not a complete shock. Because if you're Terrell Owens, it's always been about you. Why do I want to share the spotlight with anybody?
What's the name of that soap opera, As T.O. Turns?
As the World Turns, back in the day. And I would have to co-sign with both of you all said, and Alan, I know you agree as well. T.O. has always been a mercurial personality. Now, on the field, I don't think there's any doubts that he could ball, without question. But in terms of his personality, very mercurial. You just never knew exactly what he thought. And he would always take things so personal. I remember years ago when he had made his first Pro Bowl, and Chris Carter tells a story that he went up to T.O. to shake his hand and say, hey, congratulations on making your first Pro Bowl. T.O. would not shake his hand. And Chris Carter looked confused and said, well, what's the problem? He says, well, you made a comment about me a couple years ago that I just won't forget. That, capsulizes in terms of T.O. I'm happy for him that he got inducted. But my question is, guys, is this a first? I've never heard someone get inducted into Canton and
say I'm not going
deliberately not going.
Yeah, that's odd to me. I will say this about T.O. I've come across him a few times in my life. And the most recent time was a couple of years ago. He was actually here in Charlotte. And I was walking through a hotel lobby essentially to get to the other side, to get to the light rail. And I saw him in the hotel, a friend of mine. We were together. We both saw him. We spoke to him. He talked to us for about 5 minutes. Then my buddy asked him to take a picture. He said no and got an attitude. So that, as I said, as T.O. turns, the nicest guy for 5 minutes. And I mean, he was talking to us about anything we wanted to talk about. Is he still going to play, blah, blah, blah. And then my friend says, hey, man, can I get a picture? He goes, no, absolutely not. Why would you ask me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, what just happened that it went to that? So to your point of just the mercurial nature that is T.O., that is a prime example of what can happen in a 5-minute conversation.
Just an odd guy, no doubt about it.
That's a good story.
What is the most T.O. thing you could do during Hall of Fame weekend?
Not go to the Hall of Fame.
No, there.
And guess what?
And make
guess
the
what they're
story
going to be talking about?
Yeah, make the story.
T.O.'s not here
for a day or two about you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to change subjects from one fast thing and talk about something else that's pretty fast. That's NASCAR. I know a little bit more about NASCAR than some of this other stuff. So we're going to get you up to speed on that when we come back and return to talk about sports.
What's his name?
Welcome back to Talk About Sports. We're talking about sports right now here at Dilworth Neighborhood Grill in Uptown Charlotte. I'm Alan Dietz, now joined by Jeff Taylor. Of course, William B., as I like to call it, William B.
Oh, William B.
Yeah, why not? There was a guy, I don't know. You remember that show, SCTV?
I remember that.
Candy with
I remember that.
William B.
I remember that. I do remember that. I thought you were talking like Willie B., like South Carolina based football stadium. But
No.
Willie
Beeman.
And Willie Beeman, I know. Does him? I have no idea who you're talking about.
And Reg is still here with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about NASCAR. And the first thing I want to talk to you guys about, and I got a thought about it, obviously, but to talk about the rules package in NASCAR, and I want to get you to weigh in on this too, Reg, and you'll see where I'm going with it. But NASCAR has put themselves in a really odd position in the last few years, and they put themselves in a lot of odd positions, actually. But, when I was growing up, when we were growing up, it was about whoever had the fastest car won the race. And that's kind of the way Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick feel right now, rightfully so, because they've got the fastest cars. Mm-hmm. But then, in the last 10 to 15 years, entertainment weighed in on it. What was going on around the racetrack, the races being entertaining. So they introduced this rules package at Charlotte, which I honestly think was a huge hit, thank you, because it made a race that normally, frankly, sucked interesting. So where do you come down on, because I can see it on both sides, guys, where, yeah, I want the fastest car to win, but I also don't want to sit there and watch a 10-lap race like what the end of the All-Star race is, and the guy that normally wins it is 6 seconds ahead in 10 laps of the second-place car. So where do we go from here?
Well, to me, it's really very simple. If the people aren't entertained, they're not making revenue, NASCAR shuts down. So entertainment is going to trump it all, because at the end of the day, you're there for entertainment. Now, the fastest car wins. When NASCAR first started, that's how it was. That's before all the money, factory support, wind tunnels. No, that's when you bought a car literally off the dealership floor. Your mechanics got together, did little things here and there, and you had the fastest car. But the difference between the fastest car and the slowest car typically was only a couple of miles an hour. Now, with all the testing, the factory support, teams building their own motors 17 times through the wind tunnel just to see if this bump in the right front fender is going to be smooth or not. All these things, NASCAR is nothing like it used to be.
Right.
Then you factor in these different types of tracks, these aero packages and all these types of things. NASCAR is just hard to watch, and I love NASCAR. Yeah. I spent 5 years on pit road. I love the sport, and it's hard to watch. It's
a perfect example, Jeff, between the All-Star race and the 600. And you had the two winningest guys this season. Kevin Harvick win the All-Star race. Kyle Busch win the 600. But from an entertainment standpoint, the 600 has been unwatchable for years.
Well, here's what I will say. Having spent as much time in television production as I have, I think particularly across the sports landscape, it's gotten to the point to where everybody feels like everything is broken. They're trying to fix it. At the end of the day, some sports, some things that people are interested in can top out. Right. And that'll just be the crowd. NASCAR, some people call NASCAR a niche sport. I don't know that I would call it that, but some people call it that. Well, guess what? That fan base just wants to see racing, and they're going to see some wrecks, and that's what it is. The pomp and circumstance, all that stuff around it, they're not as worried about. I think that's the problem football is having right now. That's the problem a lot of sports are having. Everybody's trying to figure out how to fix their sport, when the reality is, who are you fixing it for? The people that are already fans of it, or the people that you're trying to get? And what generally happens is you bring in some people, but you lose the people that have always been there. Dance with the one that got you there. That's my thing.
I think, too, with the rules package, and you talked about Charlotte a little bit, and it was a little bit better of a race, the 600. It had its moments. But the gist is,
it's hard to pick those moments out in 4.5 hours.
Right, exactly. And
that's
I think
a long race.
No matter what the rules package, what we've seen this year is the car out front has clean air and's gone.
Right.
And that's been 3 drivers. It's been Kyle Busch, it's been Kevin Harvick, it's been Martin Truex. And you're right. I mean, even last week at Pocono.
Right.
They dropped the green flag again after a caution, late caution.
But
Truex got to the front, he was gone.
Right.
That last however many laps, it wasn't worth watching. In every race this year, you've gotten to a point where whoever's been out front, no matter what the rule package is like, when they've gotten out front, they've built 6-7 second leads, and it's been horrible.
I think, like Reg was saying, and I thought a little bit about this before the show today. You know, when you look at football, it's all centered around the offense now. You can't touch the quarterback. You can't touch the wide receivers. In the NBA, it's all about scoring 130 points.
Yep.
They travel and walk and do all the things that we were taught in school not to do in basketball.
Right.
And I think it's the same way, and I'm like you, William. I think at the end of the day, if people aren't watching, if people like us are not watching,
right,
then you've got to do something. And I think that this new rules package, when and if, more than likely win. But when they do this at Indianapolis and when they do it at Michigan, and if they want to do it at California next year, I think the one problem that they had at Charlotte was right when the cars were getting enough momentum to make a run on somebody, you go into a turn. And I think on a 2 or a 2.5 mile racetrack that you're going to have enough straightaway that when you get a run on somebody, you're going to be able to pull out and not break that momentum like they do on a 1.5 mile.
Yeah, you get a slingshot with it. But I agree with you. But I think, and I said this a couple weeks ago, well, after I watched the All-Star race, I firmly believe that anything over a mile should be restrictor plate.
Yeah.
I do. You know, when I first got NASCAR, you know, because think about it, what's the most exciting races you see? Short tracks?
And the trucks.
And the trucks.
The truck, yeah, but the trucks are kind of closer together. Then again, they don't have all that money and all the wind tunnel time because the sponsorships don't dictate it. But you look at them in the Cup Series, the most exciting races are your short track races and Talladega and Daytona.
And road courses now, which are kind of like a short track race.
Yeah.
They get closer in the corners. They do it.
Yeah.
I hated road course races when I was a kid, and now there's some of the ones that you look forward to because at least somebody different can get up there that ain't going to out-arrow you or out-spin you on technology.
Right. Yeah, because somebody may have more horsepower going that straightaway, but the guy behind you may be able to out-brake you going into that turn. Or you got a better shock package so you can turn better. So I'm with you. Just road course races are just hard to watch from a spectator standpoint.
Because it's unnatural to the sport. That's part of it. And I think anybody that's been a long-time NASCAR fan, it was a novelty at first, and now it's, for some that I've talked to, they're annoying.
See, for
because
me,
it's outside the norm.
Right. I mean, I remember growing up in Riverside.
Yeah.
Riverside used to end the season, right?
Which was the perfect.
And it was Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip who would battle it out at Riverside.
And it was the perfect road course for stock cars.
It was perfect.
And they got rid of it.
Right, and they got rid of it, of course.
Amazing how that works.
And I think the interesting part is I think we're at a very, even this season, I know NASCAR, we're kind of talking about it's at a pivotal point of its whole, history and stuff like that. this season has not been that exciting. And now you're going to Michigan. And Michigan is unrestricted, right? They were unrestricted points there, right?
They'll go 2-12 into the tournament.
Right, 2-12, 2-13. But even then, the racing there's not, so they need something. The way this first half of the season's gone, where are we going to find any excitement?
But if you remember, again, when we were kids, when you would go to Michigan, you don't see this anymore, but they used to make a big deal when you would go to Michigan because they'd run 4 and 5 wide.
4 and 5 wide.
Down that front straightaway. Now, just like in Charlotte, they were going 50 miles an hour slower than they do now.
Right.
And you ran a boxier car. That's where I bring up the trucks, because the whole idea when NASCAR went to the car tomorrow and all this stuff, besides the safety standpoint, was to push that windshield up like a truck and try to make it boxier.
The old Monte Carlos and stuff.
Yeah, and it just didn't work out. I think if you take that rules package that you had at Charlotte and you open up that restrictor plate just a little bit more to not slow them down quite as much as they are, and I would make I'm sorry, but I would make a spoiler that was as big as a wall if I had to make that spoiler bigger. Do whatever you got to do to dirty that air up, but keep that car that's in front, buckled down to the racetrack.
Right. Yeah, I'm cool with that, but I think what we're going to see at Michigan, what I'm afraid of, there'll be a car going 212 by itself, but the car behind is doing 208.
Right.
And it's going to be just another horrible race that just takes them longer to get around the track on.
It will.
And and Michigan tends to go green for a long time.
A long, long time.
So the only benefit of that is where it gets out front, it'll be so much faster.
Clean air and gone.
Yeah. And the race is going to end quick.
And I think it's just like you said, William. I think if you take a race like Charlotte, and I think this is the perfect example of it, the winner of the All-Star race was the guy that's won the most races this season. So still at the end of the day, the best team won. But he wasn't 3/4 of a lap ahead of second place. They were all packed in their top together. And that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
When you go back to Charlotte in the fall, that Roval race is going to be a complete S show. If you know what I'm
I can't
saying.
wait for it.
It's going to be crazy. And there's going to be a good crowd there to watch this cluster go around that racetrack, running into each other, getting up on the banks, doing something that we've never seen before. I just wish NASCAR would have looked at had a little bit more foresight to start doing some of this stuff about 10 years ago, because I'm afraid it's too late.
Let me ask you that. Will it draw a crowd? Will it sell?
The first one will.
Will it?
I think the second
people I've talked to.
I think the second will do better than the first one.
Well, you think the second Roval?
Yeah. Only because there's still a lot of people don't know Charlotte's going to be up. That's here in Charlotte that I saw at the Speedway during the Coke 600 and the All-Star race. They had no idea that it was going to be a Roval. So I think NASCAR needs. And the problem is,
you might be right. The second one might do better.
Yeah, because people don't know. They don't know what the track is. They don't know the configuration.
Right.
They don't have any kind of. There's no commercial to show wrecking or show passing. It's a theory. And let's face it, the average NASCAR fan needs to be shown, not told.
Right.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So they don't have anything to show them. Once they see it the second time, people talking, because they went out there for testing, man, you think Danica Patrick wrecked a lot. They were wrecking all over the place. They were testing for this Roval about a month ago. Yeah. They may need to do a second testing just to get the car set up. Because they literally, it's going to be great. I cannot wait.
I think it's going to be great, too. And like I said, I'm just glad that NASCAR is doing something different. I'm just afraid that it's a little bit too late. So Cam Newton, he recently hosted his celebrity event. We'll get some final thoughts, and we'll see you back on the other side of this break. We're back on ADSN talking about sports, talking about NASCAR right now, and we touched a little bit on Michigan, guys, but what do you think we'll see when we go there here in a couple of days, Jeff?
I know what the Chevrolets are hoping. They get a win.
Yeah. And that guy that was driving the pace car at the IndyCar race sitting there.
That'll be interesting.
I think the interesting part is, we've seen, obviously we talked about Harvick and Busch and Truex. Kyle Larson has won the last 3 races here. Yeah. Are they going to hang their hope on Kyle Larson? He's had some tough luck. Can he, get over the hump and win a race?
And Chevy needs a win.
And Chevy, they need it bad, and I think they got to hang all their hopes on the kid who's won it 3 times in a row.
I think they can, but Chevy's a lot slower this year, and the Fords really have something going together. So, and of course, Toyota's doing what Toyota's been doing for a long time now. But I think I think Kyle Larson will be in contention. But I think it'll come down to issue of horsepower like we talked about before. Either Truex or Harvick or somebody's going to be so much further ahead that unless they wreck out early, I think whoever's in front, I think it's going to be a slow, long, excruciatingly painful race.
Well, guys, it's going to be a real good one to watch.
I tell you, here's what I'm expecting, and we talked about this on the show previously. Certain guys, you just expect to be there near the end of the season. I think we start to see the ascent of Jimmy Johnson right around now.
We better.
Be surprised if all of a sudden there's a top 10 up there for him in Michigan, and we start to see that team turn the corner. They kind of always seem to find a way to get there when they need to and figure it out. So I expect him to start having some strong runs, starting with Michigan.
Let me ask you about that, though, because here's my question, and I keep waiting for them to turn that corner.
Yeah.
Has it been, though, in the past that he's had the great drivers and the teams around him where this year he's got all the youngsters and maybe he can't learn as much from the other team, and he's got all the pressure kind of riding on him?
Well, if you notice,
that's fair.
If you look at when that – and there's been some front office things that changed at Hendrick that I think have played a big part of it. But if you look at the descent of Hendrick Motorsports, it really started when Jeff Gordon left.
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely.
No offense, but I don't think anybody was going to Dale Jr. asking him about his setup.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you still had that maturity there.
Right.
And I think now, as you said, all you got is Jimmy Johnson. I think going to Michigan, what we're going to see is, I agree with Kyle Larson, but I think the other Chevy hope will be Chase Elliott. He's ran well at Michigan in the past. He should have won there. But, yeah, something will happen.
He'll find a way to wreck that car.
5 laps to go or something. And it's hard to bet against those Toyotas.
And don't forget, that Michigan's always been a fuel mileage race, too. It's always been that fuel mileage. People taking those chances. They should save a lot.
That is true.
They've saved a lot.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Jimmy and Chad, they still have great communication.
Yeah.
And I think with Jimmy and Chad, they know as well. They're like the Patriots. You know they're going to be there. So I think they spend most of the season playing with setups and playing with different things like this. And when they need, like, okay, now we need to win something or we need to do what we need to do, they do it and they go right back to what they were doing.
Yeah.
I don't think they don't look at this thing as a whole season. I think they look at the whole season, one big long testing for next year, try new stuff, just
get in the
stuff
chase.
out.
Well,
they just get in the chase and go from there.
I agree with what you're saying, but if you look at Jimmy in the past, a lot of times, he would go out and rattle off, 2 or 3 or 4 wins early in the season, and about this time they would lag for 2 months doing R&D or doing whatever they were doing until the chase started, and then they would turn it on. Well, now for over a year, they just have not had it. I mean, they have not had it. And I think it's a combination of the new Chevrolet. I think it's a combination of not having that older leadership there besides Jimmy, not just having to totally rely on him. But,
who is their oldest leadership? Dale Jr., who wasn't winning races. Well, not Casey Kane, who wasn't winning races.
But Jeff
who running up front. Yeah, but Jeff's been gone like 10 years. They've won 7 championships since Jeff's been gone. Jeff's been gone a long time. I would be able to go with that if they weren't winning championships so much shortly after Jeff left.
Right. But they had teams that were contending and had won some. I mean, it's Dale Jr., obviously he won races, but he didn't win a championship, but he won races.
But Jr. went 4 years without winning a race. Then he finally won at Michigan. Yeah. Casey Kane,
luck then to win in Indy.
Yeah, it wasn't winning. Yeah, exactly.
Or is Jimmy just like, fine, I'm good running. Has he got the Dale Earnhardt Jr. where he's content running 20th now?
About that,
and it's not worth it anymore.
He's at that age.
I know that's what I'm wondering.
I don't
got
have
kids.
any doubt on his stamina because I think he's as fit as anybody out there,
if not more so.
Right. But when guys get, and I know he's been married and he's had children for a while. But it seems like when guys get married and have children that maybe they don't quite drive in that corner as hard.
A little hard as they used to. Yeah.
Maybe they don't.
I mean, he's been running 20th.
There's something else to think about.
Yeah, but
and I'm just
including these wings that just got put down in front of me.
They're just bad right now.
But I think but also, none of these other guys are racing for 8.
Oh yeah.
He's ready to solidify his place in history as the best.
Oh
ever.
no, yeah.
Speaking of the best, how about this food here?
Oh yeah,
coming up here at Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. If you're coming out to watch NASCAR on Sundays, if you're coming out to watch the NBA Finals, if you're even coming out to watch World Cup soccer when that starts.
U.S. Open next week?
With that being said, if you coming out to watch an NBA Finals game, bring a pillow. Why are those games starting so late? I know they got to get the West Coast in, but, man, 9 o'clock? Come on, man.
I didn't know there was an NBA championship going on.
It's late, man. It's late.
Well, no doubt about it. The food here.
You can go on a date, come back home and watch the.
Yeah, you can go on a dinner date and then come home and watch the finals.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Like chicken
Nachos,
tenders.
Wings. What is that?
Is that chicken
like
tenders?
chicken tenders.
That's a big tender.
Hey, come on here, partner.
Nope, I got you, Steve, right here, man.
What we got here?
My man Steve's going to let us know. Oh, this side. We got to get you in the camera. My man Steve, what we got out here?
Man, today we're starting off with our wing platter here. Comes with 20 wings, teriyaki and the dry rub. That'll be your NBA final special there. Next, we're going to have the Steak Pub House nachos here, one of the big favorites here. Great to share. Next, we're going to do our chicken tenders here. Comes with a side of fries. We toss them in our hot sauce.
It's like a whole
homemade
chicken
sauce
breast.
here. And then my own creation. It's a burger pizza. It's got a little green peppers, onions, and hamburger meat on top of it.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna
take good care of you guys today.
As always, we appreciate it. And you know me, I'm Chusky, so I need a 10-piece by myself.
Well,
I got one.
Kevin, I think we're going to jump in on this here in just a second. We got a little something on Cam Newton for you, Kevin. You got that ready? Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts about in general? We'll start with you, Reg. Not just NASCAR, just in general.
I'm gonna just get my fake Adam Schefter on real quick. Julian Edelman from the New England Patriots facing 4-game suspension, being reported by ESPN. Adam Schefter and Field Yates both reporting that.
Wow.
He is appealing the suspension for performance-enhancing substance.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Folks have been planning the demise of the Patriots for a long time. There was conversation about Gronk and Brady not going to OTAs. Now this, yada, 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 goes back to the Super Bowl last year. Anyway, that's not what I'm stewing about. I'm stewing about boxing. As always, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, stripped of the IBF middleweight title for not fighting a mandatory challenger. Listen, man, boxing they all need to get on the same page. I know they got different sanctioning bodies, but to strip a guy that title because he won't fight some guy that no one's even heard of, and I'm a boxing fan and I don't know who the guy is, to make him try to avoid a potential rematch with Canelo Alvarez where the money's at, where all the eyeballs will come on the sport, is absolutely stupid. The IBF should be ashamed of themselves. This is dumb, and boxing needs to quit doing this stupid stuff, which is why they continue to have issues keeping the fan base that they have.
William?
I think
I like your cufflinks.
Oh, go home.
Oh, man, those are good.
But
when they're playing the game phone.
Oh, yeah. Then we just keep going.
Oh.
But
yeah.
But I think it's time to put it. I think it's time for for the White House to get out of sports.
I agree with that.
Amen, brother.
You've already got to now where you've got what? I'm sorry. Let's find something more to talk about. Okay. Well, I guess. Well, I don't know. I'll pass on to you. I don't know anything else that's really on my mind that really concerns me as far as sports goes.
I'll be curious to see what comes of Terrell Owens and what is said and what his thoughts are on that. The Edelman suspension is brutal, and I've been around for a while. Congrats on your golf tournament, man. It looked like a big success. Thanks for all you do, man. It looked pretty cool.
It went well. We had a good time.
Good to talk racing with you, man.
Oh, yeah, you too. And
Let's go Titans, tighten up.
Tighten up, baby. Boogie. Let's go racing too.
Sorry, baby.
I think this deal with the Patriots, when we're probably 4 games into the season and they're 4-0, I think that is a huge deal with Edelman.
Yeah.
But don't put dirt on those guys just yet.
Yeah. Texans at the Jags, at the Lions, and home against the Dolphins. That's 3 tough games.
Yeah. Well, I think
they'll be fine.
I think they'll be just fine.
They plug and play.
As 12 is
number 12.
there,
Yeah,
I think they'll be okay.
I think even if 12's not there, as long as Belichick's on the sideline, they'll be fine.
I think they'll be just fine. Well, before we check out today, guys, Cam Newton, as always, has made a huge impact on the Carolinas, especially right here in Charlotte. Newton recently hosted celebrities from all over the world of sports at his 4th annual Kicking It with Cam kickball tournament. Now, I should get in on that.
I'd like to see that.
Well, I could actually do that.
I actually was there. It was a good time.
Yeah, well, I could do that.
I don't think I could do that even more.
T.O., Julio Jones, even Montel Jordan. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Taylor Davis and Team ADSN were there to get a behind-the-scenes look at the tournament.
Hey everyone, Taylor Davis here, coming at you from the 4th annual Kicking It with Cam Celebrity Kickball Tournament.
Teams and fields, I think it's time to start. Let's get some kickball going. Play ball!
How fun is it for you to see the boys get to interact a little bit with their role models?
We love it. We've actually been to a lot of their football camps, and we go to a lot of their games, and we just love how much they interact with us, and the exposure to the athletes is fantastic. I never had that growing up, so I think it's amazing how much they actually give back to the community and to the kids.
And what athlete were you most excited to see out here?
Cam himself. I've never seen him in person, and what a man. That's all I have to say.
Yep, he's quite large.
Yes, most definitely.
We've got guys from all across the country that have come out. Terrell Owens just showed up. Dwight Howard is out here. Greg Olson, Christian McCaffrey, to name a few. The fans have come out here in full effect, and I think they're having some fun out here, right? We're on 3 different fields, 25 teams for kickball tournaments all day long. Each team has 1 or 2 celebrities or athletes on them. Who is on your team?
The celebrities we have are Devin Funches, star wide receiver for the Panthers, Patrick Beverly for the LA Clippers.
It's hot out here, but what a fantastic day, fantastic cause. Cam, his foundation, the fact that you got so many celebrities out here, athletes, man, it's a fantastic day, and we're honored to be out here.
It's good, man, just to give back to the community and just have fun, put smiles on people's faces, and just outright just have fun, like I said.
Heads up, heads up.
I'm doing an interview here.
We just wanted to have some type of event that will, number one, bring the kid out of everybody. As my mom would say, come back in the house musty, and from what I'm seeing, everybody's doing all those.
What is the competition level like out here?
There's no competition. We were just waiting to get up so we can put them up and put them down.
So Cam's not even competition.
No, his team is terrible. They got blew out 18-1.
I don't know, man. Those boots was too cute for me. I mean, my feet are thanking me right now for the shoes that I replaced them with. And I figured if I switch the boots, it got to be the boots, because I gave up 18 points. God.
The way that they look right now as a team, yeah,
like 5 balls in a row.
It looked like Steph Curry and his team playing against West Charlotte. I think so. Guaranteed. So we look at guaranteed. I'm just the announcer. I'm Mark Jackson.
Hey, shout me out.
And this is LeBron.
Hey, listen. Hey, you want a shout out? What's up?
I feel like we got robbed in game one. For being 49 years old, I think I'm moving very well and I'm sexy. So with that being said, win, lose, or draw, I'm still winning.
You gotta get your song on there.
Yeah, they've been playing it a couple of times. The DJs constantly doing, I gotta get your groove on. So
You're gonna get paid.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm pulling for you. Go pick some.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all.
You know, Charlotte's been home for me for a while, and I just want to keep continually giving something that's outside the box.
I get it poppin'. I get it wild. I get it, I'm steady mobbing. If I want it, I get it now. I get it poppin'. I get it, I'm getting crazy. I get it.